beautiful. We have so many trees that are in blossom right now. And so everywhere we go, it's just like spring and the flowers are popping up and all the things. But yeah, my allergies, man, have just been like, whew, another thing. Okay, so today I'm excited to introduce you to one of my classic constructs that I love using. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I use energetic constructs and apply them to different situations in your life, your marriage, and your faith to help better understand how to navigate them and move through them. So today we're going to be talking about when your relationship dynamics shift. So particularly looking at like a marriage relationship, but this can also be applicable to like your relationship with the church, the relationship with a friend, with a parent, with a child, like so many different applications. And so I want to share this construct with you because it's such a helpful, handy tool to just kind of keep in mind. Because what tends to happen is we're always growing, right? And so anytime that we're growing, we are shifting and things are changing. And there are periods in our life where we go through this process of birth, life, death, rebirth. It's something I talk a lot about when I'm working with my clients is how to recognize when you're in these different stages and how to better move through them. Because depending upon which stage you are in, doing different things is going to work versus not. And this is where a lot of confusion can come up in a relationship. You know, when you're in a birth scenario and you try to do the same thing that you were doing during a death scenario, it's not going to work, right? And so a lot of people get really frustrated in their relationships because they're like, what was working is no longer working, right? It's like you used to have this really nice pattern. It's like, da, 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 da. We've got our groove, we know how we're moving, and then all of a sudden it's like, something happens and it's like, clunk, 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 right? And you can't quite feel like you have that nice rhythm anymore. And when that happens, it's what tends to occur is whoever's here having this kind of wonky experience tends to be like, hey, you're wonky. You're the one that pushed me here, right? And then whoever's in this position is usually looking at the wonkiness and being like, hey, you're the one who's wonky. Get back in line, right? And so that can cause a lot of frustration, a lot of friction, a lot of tension that makes it really hard to navigate. And so what often ends up happening is we get into this tug of war position, right? Some of you are familiar with this hand gesture that I use all the time to describe like, no, you're the problem. No, you're the problem, right? And it's like, "Argh." And so it can feel like something is different. We may have ideas of what we think is different, and we're trying to address those things. But the more you try to address them, the more it feels like things just get worse, right? And there's two different ways that things tend to get worse. One of them, okay, is you tend to start to want to like, well, you were always making the decisions, or you always were the one who got to decide this, whatever. So now I'm going to, right? So we swing out, that's how I describe it, into this position of like, I'm going to be the one in charge or control. Okay. Or we'll go the other direction and we just like want to kind of keep the peace. And so you keep thoughts and stuff to yourself, and that builds up this resentment, right? So it's like you're either butting heads or there's this buildup of resentment when we stay quiet. And so it's like the relationship has changed and we're trying to figure out how to navigate the new changes, how to talk about it, how to describe it, how to get back into that feeling of like things are going well and we can go places, right? If you're riding a bike and you're pedaling, you want that smooth feeling, right? If one of your pedals or the chain comes off or, a flat tire's there, it's like you can't get where you want to go and it's going to be a struggle and there's going to be trouble, right? It's hard. And so we want to make that easier and get back into that like, okay, let's go. And that's what this is helping you understand. Okay? So the reason right, we're kind of stuck in this tug of war from an energetic perspective is because this is playing out into the classic two sides of what I call the pendulum principle. Now, the pendulum principle is an energetic construct, and it helps us understand when we feel that tension and tug of war that there's two different sides that we're kind of playing in. And instead, we want to drop out of that space and enter the pendulum space here. Okay? When we're in the pendulum space, we have a much different experience because we're able to find this balanced space or aligned space, as I like to say. Right? In energetics, balance actually means something slightly different. So, but alignment is here. We're aligning, right? We're getting into that path of how to work together. And so these Wednesday lives, they're all about me sharing little energetic constructs and ideas with you, some principles and stuff to help you better understand the pattern of partnership. And that's what we're wanting here, right? And that alignment is, okay, how do I find that alignment with myself, with God, and with other people? Okay? So the pendulum helps us do that by recognizing that the goal is not here or here. Right? The goal is not a tug of war and we're trying to move one party to our side, which is usually what's happening, right? So in our example here, things are going well, something gets wonky, right? You're at fault. You're the one who pushed me. It's like, no, you're at fault. You're the one who went wonky, right? That puts us in this tug of war place. And so what the pendulum does is says, hey, let's break out of this tug of war that we have that's causing this contention here, and let's find how do we operate as partners together. So, and we want to do that in a way that doesn't compromise the individuality of each party, right? Or that relationship or connection with God, the divine. Right? So we want to find that partnership again with each other, maintaining our connection with ourselves and maintaining that connection with God or the divine. Okay? That's what I love helping people do. It's so fun. So how does this help us? Well, because the pendulum, right? Here's the goal. This is where we want to be. And you'll notice it's a range, right? We're never perfectly centered, right? We're kind of like generally around this area. And sometimes we're going to swing out to different experiences, and that's okay. Right? The key is to be able to recognize when you're swinging out, what that means, and how to get back into this aligned place. Okay? And so what usually happens is on either side here, we have what I like to call the rebel self. And the imposter self. Now, the imposter self, I call it the imposter self because on the outside, it can kind of look like you're getting the results that you want from this aligned space, but it's not actually there, right? So, for example, there's not contention going on here. So it looks like it's the better option instead of this, right? I'm not fighting. I'm not getting us stuck in like big arguments or screaming matches, right? Like I'm taking the higher road and like allowing us to not be in this state of contention, right? But this is the imposter self because it's coming at the expense of one or both parties. And the reason I say or is because that's how we tend to view it, but actually it's coming at the expense of both parties. Because if it's ever at the expense of one party, it's at the expense of both parties. Because that there's something missing there. Right? So one party is feeling stifled, small, whether they recognize it or not, that bottled up emotion, right, is going to build up. And that's where resentment often gets fostered, right? And because this individual is not showing up as their full self in the relationship, the other party actually misses out on getting to have that full experience, right? And so while it may not look like we're in this reactionary state, this isn't actually true peacekeeping, right? It's not true partnership relationship, right? That's when we're down here. Right? So we want to drop out of these spaces and find this middle space where we get to cooperatively co-create the experience together. Okay? Now, the reason we swing out into these two different places is because of two fundamental principles. One is the rebel self is trying to help us feel safe. Now, this type of safety can be referred to mental safety, emotional safety, spiritual safety, physical safety, financial safety, social safety, right? Basically, we want to feel secure and stable, right? And so the rebel self is basically coming out and trying to control the situation or like take charge in an attempt to protect themselves, right? They're saying, I'm recognizing this experience here, right? There was some resentment. There was like some playing small. I don't want to play in that anymore. So I'm going to react and come to this space, right? That's that goal of I am safe. On the other side, okay, is the fundamental principle of I am good. Okay? So the imposter self is trying to maintain that sense of I am good. I have worth, I have value, I'm doing things right, right? The good girl mentality is born out of this imposter self side of things. Right? And so ideally, when we're here in the aligned space, we are able to experience the fact that I am safe and I am good in the relationship and in a way where both partners feel that and are supported. Right? And when we're swinging out, it's because we're kind of crossing the line here or violating one or the others in some way. Okay? And that's what causes us to take on these sort of protective responses instead. Okay? So if you want to find that space of how to shift what you're experiencing in your relationship, right? Whether, again, that's with a spouse because you were in this one pattern and now it's like, whoa, this is not working right? You're realizing, hey, there's new levels of partnership I want to be experiencing. Things have to change. Things have to shift. But you don't have to get stuck in those opposing places. You don't have to be swinging out into the extremes. There's a way to navigate it much easier by finding that center ground, right? And that's what I love helping people find and experience. So next Wednesday, I have a masterclass that is going to be opening up. It's a free one to attend. Co-create your life. We're going to be talking about how do you do that, right? So if you're interested, all you have to do is comment the word training. I'll automatically send you a link to register and sign up. You'll get reminders so you don't miss out. Yes, there will be a replay, but it's always more fun when you're there live, right? You get to ask your questions, you get to interact, have the feedback. It's just a different feel. So that is next Wednesday. And I'd love to hear, how does this resonate with you? Have you experienced that before where you get stuck in that tug of war experience? Have you found, what helps you find that space of alignment? And did you find this helpful, being able to identify, the rebel self and the imposter self and how am I acting out in those different ways? So love to hear from you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.